You want to keep the story interesting. Like, soon as somebody thinks they know what you're gonna say, that's part of the essence of rhyming. Is to keep everybody kind of off guard a little. It puts a sense of longevity to the record as well, to where you never know what the dude's gonna say.
Chain smoking beaties till his brain's broken completely. Get back on his feet, work out, and eat some Wheaties. Greedy for the cheese, please, most couldn't fathom. Had him in the Cobra clutch when he spat the mad him gems. Collection of brats, Tims and hats. Had no time for the pity pat, I'll give him that.
MF Doom is one of the most talked about artists of our modern internet era. But before the mask, before the mayhem, before the madness, before the influence, before the hip hop, before everything, Daniel Dumile was a young child born in the UK, immigrated to the United States, landed in New York. In New York, there was a blossoming hip-hop culture that he fell in love with young, not just when he was young, but when hip-hop was young as well. He formed a street posse along with his brother Dingaleesway, aka DJ Subroc, and it pretty much ingratiated their entire lives. It was their friend group, it was their culture, it was their home, it was everything. This was fruitful for young Dumile when he would end up meeting MC Search of Third Base, who had a record deal, and he eventually ended up on MTV sans mask, very, very young, as Zevlov X on Third Base, the gas face.
Mr. Weasel?
Oh, come in and sit down. So nice of you to come here and dress for the meeting, too. I like the hats. It's a very nice touch.
Now, depending on who you ask, this is a piece of shit song that aged like trash and MC Search is stupid, or it's a classic. Now, I wasn't around back then, so it's corny to me, but a lot of people that were around back then love it, and Zevlov X's performance was good, man. It was impressive.
A gas face can either be a smile or a smirk when a pair's a monkey race to work one's clockwork. Perkin is built to the rim of my cup. Don't tempt me, you're empty. So fill her up as I'm talking coffee or cocoa. Is you loco? Cash or credit for unleaded? That's a no-go.
Impressive enough to get KMD their own record deal. Now, this was Doom, this was Subroc, and this was Onyx, the Birthstone Kid. They would go on to release their first full-length album entitled Mr. Hood. Now, Mr. Hood was a very unique album where he sampled this Spanish to English, learning translation tape to create a character named Mr. Hood. And it was basically KMD showing Mr. Hood a day in the life of how they do things. It was a very playful and unique record for the time, and it gained mild success. There was a music video titled Peach Fuzz.
If not, I'll simply twist your wrist, so listen up closely. With thoughts to recoup me, cause I hope to gross like 10 cents per groupie. Not only if I had 2 G's per strand, ask my anchor banker. He understands I used to wrap my hand around a cold gold can.
And they were planning on having a second album that was going to be much bigger, you see. It was going to be a little bit darker and grittier and more adult as well. Because this album, it was juvenile, but they were very influenced by the aspects of the Nubian Nation and Dr. York, who would play a big part in MF Doom's life, which people don't like to talk about as much. Doom didn't even really talk about it so much. He definitely did in his music. Now, on this next album they were recording, Black Bastards, you could see the secular world. There's a song called Smoking That Shit about weed, sweet premium wine. It was about drinking. All this stuff that you really weren't supposed to do under their old religious aspects, but they were young and they were experimenting and they had reached success under a label. They were smoking so much weed out on the tour at the time. Personally, I like it better than Mr. Hood. This album unfortunately would not be released because of the album cover's nature, like a Sambo character being used as a hangman. But obviously KMD were not racist, there were some black guys. It was a satirical piece. Doomas went on to talk about this. It shelved the career of the group pretty much. And if that wasn't bad enough, Subroc would actually be hit by a car before the album was even finished recording, leading Doom to have to record it by himself. And Onyx would leave, and Dumile was basically destitute here around 92, 93. What was once a promising career was now nothing. Doom was surfing on couches. He wasn't really making music so much for a couple of years. He was doing anything he could to survive. This tragedy would lead to a certain will and attitude towards the music business, a certain bitterness.
What I did was I said, all right, look, I'm gonna come with the angle of, it don't matter what I look like, You know, it don't matter what the artists look like, it's more what the artists sound like. So the mask really represents the whole, like, to rebel against the trying to sell the product as a human being, you know what I mean? It's more of a sound.
Chasing all of the rain away. When you come around, you bring brighter days. She told me you're the perfect one.
Now, many years after the tragedy that involved Subroc's passing and the shelving of KMD, Doom had spent time couch surfing. He was locked up a couple of times. He was selling drugs. He was doing the work that he needed to do, trying to craft a plan of how he was going to be successful, you know, because he had a woman that he loved. He had people he needed to take care of. And he was a grown man now, you know. This was a far cry from the KMD days. He was taken under the wing of by a man named MF GRIMM. You know, a lot of people don't know his name, but he wrote for many, many artists. MF GRIMM had actually come up with the MF moniker under the name Mad Flows. All those years of struggle and heartache and bitterness towards the music business that he had been going through, you know, because this was a good 4 or 5 year stretch, led him to craft a plan, and he would create a character. He'd don a mask that would evolve throughout the years, but did not start out as the mask that you know, the Gladiator style Madvillainy cover mask. It looked a lot more like Dr. Doom at first. Now, Operation Doomsday is an underground classic. Now, depending on who you ask, this was recorded between New York and Atlanta. It's very contested. You know, Stretch Armstrong or Bobito, one of the two, says that he recorded it in their apartment over the span of 3 weeks. MF GRIMM claims that he fronted Doom the money to record this record, and that Doom used all his records to sample. This whole album was produced by MF Doom, and it was very, very unique for the time. You know, the glitz and glamour of the hip-hop world, the Diddy world at the time, it was kind of washed and it was kind of sanitary, but Doom did not do that shit. He was the supervillain. The posters for the promo of this album even claimed, in 1999, a villain came to destroy rap. This would be the beginning of Doom's extremely complex writing schemes that included internal rhymes and off the beaten path, rhythms and flows that you wouldn't hear. And to the first time listener, if you're not already kind of ingratiated into hip hop, it's gonna be kind of hard to get into, but if you pay attention, this is some of the most densely packed writing, full of alliterations and allusions and quotations and metaphors and similes and references. Being the supervillain, aping it from Marvel's Dr. Doom, as Doom was a lifetime comic book and cartoon fan. He grew up in that golden era, you know. He would sample a lot of cartoons, as you can see from the very beginning of this album, whether it be cartoon music, like the soundtrack of the old Saturday morning joints looped around and with drums put to it, or even little skits where he'd chop dialogue from these cartoons and create conversations and kind of a narrative for this album. And he'd go on to utilize this throughout his career in many, many different ways. This was the beginning, you know, Operation Doomsday. This is the mission statement for who MF Doom is.
Known amongst foes for flow without no talking orangutans. Only gin and tang, guzzle out a rusty tin can. Me and this mic is like yin and yang. Clang, crime don't pay. Listen, you, it's like me holding up the line at the kissing booth.
Entirely self-produced. There's not very many features on the album, but there is a feature from MF GRIMM, who would go to prison either shortly before or after the release of this album, on the song Tick Tick, which is very unique in that the beat actually slows down and speeds up. It's very eerie and it's very dusty. Like, what kind of mind would you have to create something like this? This was all made on drum machines and samplers, you know. It was very precise. It took a lot of time and a lot of effort.
God straight up told me, greatest of all time. The devil even told me, icicles on surfaces, son. We live in coldly. Prophets being phony, and we attack. We switch like the Wu-Tang symbol.
Curious, Doom's friend from the old KMD days, was also featured on the song Question Mark, which is a very sentimental piece towards Doom's brother Subroc, which would become a recurring theme throughout the career of Doom. And there was a music video created for this song, which I kind of find pretty sad, because you kind of see Doom walking around in a state of disarray with a machete in his hand, with a whiskey bottle. He's drunk, he's throwing the machete, screaming to the sky, he's getting on his knees and stuff. And this is just a very sad, heartbreaking, humanizing moment for the supervillain. reminding us that his name is Dumile.
Subroc, you sugar ring with the ruby and the OAC. Truly the illest dynamic duo on the whole block. I keep a flick of you with the machete sword in your hand. Everything is going according to plan, man.
This was also referenced on Rhymes Like Dimes, which showed he did not shy away from who he was, despite donning the mask and being semi-anonymous. He had said, you know, on Doomsday, ever since the womb till I'm back where my brother went, that's what my tomb will say. Right above my government, Dumile, either a marked or engraved day, who's to say? There was a couple EPs over the next couple years and collaborations with Doom's group, the Monsta Island Czars, which was a kind of a collective that goes untalked about a lot because there was a lot of problems between Doom and them. This could go into its own retrospective, so I'm not going to get into it here just because there's so much to talk about and I'd really rather focus on Doom today. But that leads us into our second release, Take Me to Your Leader by King Geedorah.
To me, the so-called bad guy or the villain, he's always the underdog, you know, and a few people speak for the underdog. See, nobody really wants to be like the loser, but some people might feel like, man, I feel like a loser today. There's a lot, everybody basically has these feelings. So what the super villain does, it speaks for the people who feel like that. She said, excuse me, villain, you be illin' with the wordplay. He said, thank you very much, I'm billing till Thursday. Once heard a beat drum sounded like a sloppy knock.
Now this was 2003, this was years later, and basically a record label had approached Doom and asked him to record a record for them because Doomsday was selling hot like pancakes in the underground and they wanted some of that money, you know, but they did not have enough money for Doom to record an MF Doom album. Doom isn't one to turn down a dollar though, as you will see later on. So they did have enough money for him to record an album under King Geedorah, his Monsta Island Czars alter ego. Now, who is King Geedorah versus who is MF Doom?
The whole direction of Geedorah is like, okay, he's not even from the earth, you know what I'm saying? He's from outer space, you know, and he channels the information to Doom in order for Doom to produce and whatnot. So Doom is he gets the message from Geedorah.
Basically, it's more of a Toho monster. Obviously, King Geedorah, 3 heads. You know, you see it on the album cover. That's what the perspective of the rhymes is from, instead of just a super villain controlling and planning and plotting. This is more an otherworldly being. And you really hear that in his rap style on songs like Phasers, with this loop that's kind of a siren or some sort of stringed instrument. It sounds like just marching through the streets and stomping, buildings crashing. Phasers is probably one of my top 5 MF Doom songs of all time.
And I'm paid, half up front, half upon mastering. Would you like that in cash? Last thing you should ask the king. You don't have to be no.
You'd see a lot of features on this album as well, including the first feature from a man named Mr. Fantastic, who'd only have one more feature later on in Doom's career. A lot of people think that he was this guy named Pure Mathematics from Doomsday. That's probably true, but this was literally a mystery for over 15 years. No one knew who Mr. Fantastic was, but everybody loves his rapping. Listen to the song Antimatter, you'll get the Mr. Fantastic taste and you'll be begging for more. You also have the ending track, which was one of Doom's most commanding outro tracks.
Did he stutter like rookie yes-men, or did he just bring the butter like the cookie chessmen? This just in, they ain't even worth the worry line on they first.
Now this is not as essential as some of the things we're going to be talking about later, or Operation Doomsday, but it is a fitting addition and we all love King Geedorah, and we have to introduce you to another alter ego. Within the same year, 2003, he'd get signed by another label, not the same label that did Take Me to Your Leader by King Geedorah, to record an album called Vaudeville Villain.
Vic is similar, but he's younger. He's more like a younger, like say 18, 19-year-old young whippersnapper, think he know it all kind of, you know. A lot of times he disagree with Doom, but still he looks up to Doom.
Y'all pay beat for flowing to the beat. Not for what he know, they got hoes hoeing in the streets. That's for him to know, and for they to never find out about the kidnapped blindfold and the blind mouth. The coroner report say he simply signed out. Oh, and I know, y'all wanna see a wino, bring the wine out.
Now, Vaudeville Villain was under the Viktor Vaughn persona. This is one of my favorite records that Doom had ever put out, actually. You know, Viktor Vaughn is much more younger and aggressive and less calculated than Doom in his rhymes. And this leads to some hilarious situations, man. Hilarious. Like on the song Let Me Watch, which is basically going on a bad date with a chick. You know, the chick has her own verses too. It's basically a conversation, and it's extremely well written, extremely well collaborated.
First started out like she was just Vaughn's friend. Used to act grown for pretend, whispering, speaking on the phone for hours on end, on the bone from just listening, and then call me back, my mother home. Spoke the tone again.
Now, the production on this wasn't done by MF Doom. It was done by a group of the producers for the label. And that's pretty good because this production is futuristic, it's gray, it's New York, it's gritty, and it's aggressive. I can't think of very many albums that sound exactly like it. Maybe more in the grain of an LP or some sort. A lot of the beats on this album sound like you don't understand how someone could find a flow to rap on over them. But that's what Doom did, and that's what Doom did on his own beats and on these beats. But these beats are much cleaner and less dusty. My favorite tracks on the album probably have to be the title track. Vaudeville Villain's guitar riff, looped over, it's very gritty, and the drums hit very hard over Viktor's intense, young, aggressive. It sounds like someone's backing up, getting ready to kick your ass, you know, spitting in your face. It sounds like you're getting ready for a fight, you know.
I wouldn't take their tape if they gave it free. Maybe it's me, maybe it's V. Throw down the key. Y'all know how shit be. In the naked city, rappers is so giddy.
And the song Saliva also has some of the funniest bars that MF Doom has ever written. Like a horn production that sounds very New York, man. This is just the kind of car that you want to whip through the streets. Turn your fucking car around sharp corners while you're hitting the gas, no brakes. Fucking spinning that bitch out. That's what this fucking song makes you want to do, man.
And just for kicks, make them gel like Asics. That's why they acting standoffish. Eat the beat by hand like canned raw crawfish. Can you please pass the cocktail sauce? You might as well know hell is hot as hell, boss.
There was a recorded album by Viktor Vaughn in 2004 that was unfortunately not as quality as this one. And all I have to say about it, and the reason that I'm breaking chronological order to tell you about it in advance, is because it's extremely hard to listen to, and on the song, the back end off the album, I'm gonna let Doom tell you himself.
Dub it off your man, don't spend that $10. I did it for the advance, the back end sucks.
The next year, 2004, would go on to be perhaps Doom's most prolific year yet, and going forward in his life.
News flash, the March of Doom. Tonight, hour after hour by shortwave wireless, the news piles up from the capitals of the U.S. World-shaking, momentous news that sends our nation's leaders scurrying back to Washington. The grim, portentous news is that the arch-villain MF Doom has emerged from a self-imposed exile.
So nasty that it's probably somewhat of a travesty having me. Then he told the people, you can call me your majesty. Keep your battery charged. He know it won't stick, yo. And it's not his fault you kick slow.
Now, what is Madvillainy and who is Madvillain? Because this is MF Doom. This isn't Viktor Vaughn. This isn't King Geedorah. This isn't Monsta Island Czars. Madvillain is actually a duo with MF Doom and producer Madlib. So we're not getting Metal Fingers production like we got on Operation Doomsday and Take Me to Your Leader. Now, anyone that knows anything about hip-hop, I don't need to tell you about this album. You're probably skipping ahead already. This album is unexplainable craftsmanship and quality in hip-hop. I just can't explain everyone's attraction to this album, including myself. You know, the iconic album cover catches a lot of people's eyes. You see Fantano talking about it. You see Rolling Stone talking about it. It's all over Twitter. It's all over the Reddit. It's all over RYM. I'm pretty sure it's one of the most highly rated albums of all time on Rate Your Music. But to the untrained ear, you might listen to this and think, it's incoherent. But what you are getting when you listen to Madvillainy is a journey. A journey taken on you by the dynamic duo, Dick Dastardly and Muttley, you know, Madlib and MF Doom.
They pray 4 times a day, they pray 5. Who weighs the strings when it's time to survive? Some will go of their own free will to die. Others take them with you when they blow sky high.
Now, MF Doom and Madvillain were very, very, very keen on each other, but they didn't have to talk a lot to get a lot done. Madlib would basically work during the day very hard, digging through crates as he was known to do. One of the best eyes for sample finding. This guy would go through thousands and thousands of records of all different types of genres. This guy was buying records from everywhere to find samples, find different ways to chop them up, just ways that people did not sample, you know, and this is perhaps his magnum opus. You know, maybe not as a solo artist, but collaboratively, I don't think that it's an argument that Madvillainy is Madlib's best work, but he would work very, very hard and stringently, treating it like a job during the day. And Doom never worked that way. To get a record out of Doom, you needed lots of beer, you needed lots of weed, you needed lots of time, because Doom was not a scheduled type of dude. So Doom would basically stay up all night. You know, he would find the cartoon samples used in this album, craft those. He would write his bars, try to figure out exactly what was funny, and thank God he did, because what we got was something that we're never gonna get again, and we never had before, and we just need to be grateful that we have now. This is one that you really have to pay attention to, and you can't just go track by track. You have to listen to the full album, alright? I implore you deeper than anything else to listen to the full fucking album. If you don't take anything else away from this, it's Madvillainy. Listen to the full album in order. The beats all flow into each other. It's like a waterfall of quality. Just to give you an example of the level of quality we're at, I'm gonna go in and talk about a few of the tracks, including my personal favorite, America's Most Blunted. This would feature one of the only futures rapping on the album, who was Quasimoto. Madlib himself, man, pitched up, and it was an ode to Madlib and Doom's one of their favorite things. America's Most Blunted, what do you think it's about? If you're too stupid to know, it spells it out for you at the end. M-A-R-I-J-U?
A-J-U-A-N-A.
This is a very fun, bouncy song. Everything about it is just wonderful.
Doom, the mad villain killing mad boom. Consume weed and drink brew till we perfume the room. The beat conductor smoke 27. Shady.
You could even ask my reverend.
Willie knows how the Phillies roll, really though.
You also get a feature from Viktor Vaughn on this album on the song Fancy Clown, once again showing us Doom's deep and intense writing style. Viktor Vaughn's girl cheated on him with Doom, and there's all sorts of lines alluding to this. When you see Tin Head tell him be ducking down.
You wasn't sorry when you sucked them off in the hallway, but have it your way, raw, no foreplay. That's you if you want a dude who wear a mask all day. And just to think, I used to be proud of you, and you had some real good power.
You also got some of Doom's biggest hits on here, including All Caps, which led everyone on the internet to have to tell everybody else, hey, all caps when you spell the man name, which especially now in death, we all must respect. All caps when you spell the man name. This is probably one of Doom's most straightforward songs in terms of rapping and mainstream appeal. He's an eclectic guy, so it's not a pop rap song, you know. You've got accordion with some of the most iconic lines of all time. It's probably one of the best intros with that flowing accordion beat, that bouncing fucking and the bars are just, you remember the first time you hear them. Living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster. That'll be the hour they knock the slick blaster.
Dick Dastardly and Muttley with sick laughter. A gunfight and they come to cut the mix master. ICE Cole, nice to be old. Y2G Steve twice to threefold. He sold scrolls, low and behold.
But I think we spent enough time talking about this album, and if we haven't, the internet definitely has. And in the same year, we would also get motherfucking food.
There's various different superheroes out there, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't necessarily call them my nemesis. They're just the antithesis of Doom, you know what I mean? So, you know, I could, you know, maybe I get along with him. It's not necessarily like he's my enemy. He's just him, the hero. And the hero can vary. It's whoever is playing that role, you know what I'm saying? The cool guy.
Give it a sec for the pain to start. This wreck right here, it ain't for the faint of heart. They thought they saw the worst verse from the team of G-men who seemed like nerds at first. Once they get to know us, people dig us. Leaders in the fight for equal rights for niggas.
We get a return to the Metal Fingers production, the dusty samples, the heavy use of TV dialogue. There's only one guest producer on this album, with a return from Madlib on the song One Beer.
There's only one beer left. Rappers screaming all in our ears like we're deaf. Tempt me, do a number on a label. Beat up all the MCs and drink them under the table like it's on me. Put it on my tab, kid, however you get there.
Now, Food has a central theme. It's a concept album. Every song on this is an alliteration to food. From the beginning, beef rap, after you hear the 2-minute movie sample of some kids on the street talking about whether they should go grub up a little bit, man. I got a couple dollars, I just want to munch up a little bit, man. It goes into Doom, basically giving an allusion to the consequences of eating red meat and beef, to the consequences of beefing as a rapper. Deep Fried Friends. Now this is the flip of the song Friends by Houdini, a classic hip-hop track from the very, very early days, back when Doom was a little kid in the parks.
I'd be doing a bad job to cover Doom's career without mentioning what may be his most legendary song, Rap Snitch Knishes. Featuring Mr. Fantastic, who we talked about beforehand, this song would go on to be the one that officially created his mysterious mystique and legend. Now this guy never showed up again on an official Doom release, and you're hard-pressed to find anything from him. I think that added to the allure, because you know, everyone knows who Doom is, as mysterious as he is. So who's the motherfucker on the Doom record that's more mysterious than Doom? Mr. Fantastic. He goes absolutely toe for toe with Doom, absolutely demolishing all the foolish rappers out there. It also features what is absolutely Doom's catchiest, most iconic chorus, where Doom and Mr. Fantastic have a duo vocal.
Rap snitches, telling all their business, sit in the court and be their own star witness. Do you see the perpetrator? Yeah, I'm right here. Fuck around, get the whole label sent up for years. Tight profile, low, like 8 and paid in full. Attract heavy cash, cause the game's centrifugal, Mr.
And in the middle of the album, you actually have a multi-track run that features no rapping at all. You get this guy basically walking around. He sounds like a creepy hillbilly guy or something, but he's talking about his fig leaf bicarbonate and all these different health benefits, and it just makes you wonder, like, how much shit did Doom have to watch to find this and like sample it and cut it, and how long did it take him? Because this was still on MPCs and stuff, and it obviously meant a lot to him for him to fill up half of his album. But for all we know, it could have been way easier and he just didn't want to rap on every song. So, but either way, this would become an iconic part of what we know and love about Doom, and an iconic part of this album, which I don't even skip these tracks at this point. There was a couple years where I did, but this is another album that I listen to as a full album, you know, it's a concept album.
Well, I think that about covers all of the natural foods out here. Now then, I have to go, take my dessert here. I have to go, I'm conducting a cooking class today.
We get a feature from Princess Angelica, aka Empress Star, on the song Guinnesses. This was basically a Nubian Nation Dr. York chick that Doom knew. He didn't have romantic involvement with, but she is a dope MC, and Doom would go on to feature her later on. The last song, Cookies, it's about jacking off, and he said that he called it cookies because it's like when you're getting on the internet and, you know, it all says, you know, can you accept cookies?
Supposed to be checking emails. All I got is messages from ass-necking females.
Cookies!
I don't know no Jenny. She said it's free and I won't owe her a penny. And that's the last time I saw her, but thousands of more horrors on online Gomorrah.
But this is a beloved album as well, and this would go on to show that 2004 was probably Doom's most prolific year, and things would get crazy from here, you know.
Hey! Why spend Christmas Eve waiting for some extra fat white dude to come busting through the ceiling when you could spend Christmas Eve with yours truly, the super villain, Doom? I'll be hosting a whole night of holiday shows on Adult Swim, ho-ho-hoing and things of this nature. We have Grandma coming through on the strip. If she get here at a reasonable hour. We have a couple of scriptures from the good book, I believe. Oh, yeah. I'm your holiday host on Adult Swim, the super villain, Doom.
This old thing's rusted, encrusted as the gold rings, the old king's busted. Plan to end global starvation and fat her. Now what in tarnation did I go and do that for?
In 2005, Adult Swim was all the rage, with stoners, with music fans, with anyone with a sense of humor pretty much. And it was only fitting that they'd fund music, you know? And this would lead to a collaboration with MF Doom. They had used his beats and stuff on bumps and stuff in the early 2000s. Given his love for old cartoons and shit, it was a fitting collaboration. And he actually was also aided by the young and up-and-coming at the time producer Danger Mouse, who is known for Gnarls Barkley, the Jay-Z Beatles mashup album. This album is probably the most accessible album mainstream-wise to Doom, because it's got features from people like Talib Kweli, fucking Ghostface Killah, who would go on to collaborate with Doom on many songs. Well, not many that we'd get to hear, but many songs, as well as features from people like Meatwad, Master Shake, Carl, fucking Frylock, The Moonanite, Space Ghost, Brack, and the list goes on. We've got songs literally about Doom just watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force and how much he loves it on the song ATHF.
Make a fast breaker, that'll be the last mistake that ass to make. Is what you get for messing with Master Shake. Look out, don't block the screen, son, lunge across. Trying to watch Adult Swim, Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
We've got songs like El Chupa Libre, the intro where words are censored with beeps to assimilate to the Adult Swim style. Little bar thrown in there, once joined a rap group, Midgets into Crunk, that led to a little bit of tension going forth with Monsta Island Czars and Doom, who Doom really kind of left behind as he got his money. Grimm was out of jail now. Grimm even did a diss track on Doom around 2006 or so because Doom never visited him in jail. Now that Doom has passed away, Grimm basically says that there was a third party involved, but Doom had a lot of shady business practices, you know. You get a feature from CeeLo Green creating a Gnarls Barkley featuring MF Doom song on this album, on the song Benzie Box, which, if I had to introduce anybody to MF Doom that was just a mainstream music fan, loved to bop their head, you know, I'd probably recommend this song Benzie Box. Technically, it really is a step down for Doom, but he still rocks the mic like no tomorrow.
Believe me, you'll get busy when it comes to poetry. He's got plenty, la la la.
There was a plan for a sequel to this album where instead of featured around the cartoon aspects of Adult Swim, it was going to be more Toonami based. It was going to be called a cult hymn. But basically it never happened, like many things in the future for Doom that just wouldn't materialize. And later on, like towards the 2010s, he would do a deal with Adult Swim for something called the Missing Notebook Rhymes, where basically Adult Swim Records would release a song a week of unreleased Doom music that he would give to them, and they would basically pay him, ending in a full album called The Missing Notebook Rhymes. Songs featuring Sean Price, Lost KMD songs, J Electronica features, but basically Doom did not pay any of the producers for these, and these songs were not legally his to release, so Adult Swim terminated this. His relationship with Adult Swim from there on was basically severely severed, which is a shame because, you know, Doom and Adult Swim were kind of synonymous for a time there. And after this, we move on to 4 whole years later.
Who inspires you, your attitude, your style, and why? I would say off the top, I'm going with my first answers here, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting caught off guard with these questions, so I'm just hitting you to the head with the real. Who inspires me, man, to my style, and why? I would say if it had to be an individual, if we was to look at people as individuals, I would say me.
We rock it all night long, even beyond the morning light. It's hard to see him in the light, even harder to see him on the mic. Black Benz beats being on the bike, and he could talk a gay chick out of being a die.
Now, born like this, Doom dropped the MF. It's just Doom. It's not quite as playful as the rest. It's still playful, it's still humorous. In fact, I think that it's got the funniest lines out of any Doom album. But this is just a more bitter, more older, wiser, more evil, more fucking apocalyptic Doom. There's more features on this album than ever before, with a whopping 12. In the likes of Raekwon, we get Ghostface Killah back, Madlib production. We have 5 different producers, including Jay Dilla, who is towards the end of his life, battling through a tragedy of this time. He was on the songs Gazillionaire and Lightworks, which featured 2 crazy fucking beats. And we are blessed to have gotten any Doom and Dilla collaborations at all, let alone ones of this caliber.
Listen, don't look now, keep walking. Traded 3 beans for this cow. Cheap talking, Hawkman, stalking here that we hawking often. Coughing to a coffin, might as well scoff the pork then.
We also get some Metal Fingers production on songs like Ball Skin and Rap Ambush. Now these are more stomping, bouncing beats. You could see Doom assimilating to the times. He ain't Diddy, okay? You got a song on here, Batty Boys, which is basically a homophobic diss track towards Batman. And all these dumbass new age MF Doom fans wanna hate, maybe Doom a homophobic. Well, who cares, man? He's the motherfucking villain. And this song was created because he was buying his young son a Batman costume at the store. His son said Batman's cooler than him, so he was like, fuck man, $24.99, I'm paying for this shit. And he basically exposed Batman and Robin as very gay people, you know.
Got no enemy, got no friend black. With the Green Goblin, got the Bat cave rob. Bustin' Batman head bobbing, slobbing Robin's knob.
You also get some Wu-Tang features on the song Angels, which is about like some Charlie Angels type characters that Doom and Ghost fantasize and talk about their times with. This was going to be a whole album called Doomstarks, but it never materialized. This was very, very talked about for many years. People still talk about it in Doom's passing. All of that is just on a hard drive that only Doom had, so I guess time will tell. Speaking to the sinister nature of Doom on this album, you even get a Charles Bukowski verse where he talks about this harrowing image of American life on the song Cells Part 1 over these. It sounds like bombs going off and just fucking rickety and evil production of the beat of the background, and this haunting Bukowski poem basically talking about how we're born into a world where hospitals are so expensive, where it's cheaper to die, and lawyers so expensive that it's easier to just go to jail, you know. Harrowing stuff. Very, very hardcore. And anyone who's read Bukowski can really see the similarities between him and Doom.
Food will become a diminishing return. Nuclear power will be taken over by the many. Explosions will continually shake the earth. Radiated men will eat the flesh of radiated men.
This is personally my favorite MF Doom album, but it is a bit of a mess. It's not as focused as, say, Madvillainy or Doomsday or Vaudeville Villain or Food or even Take Me to Your Leader, but I think that adds to the chaotic, messy nature, and you can really, really get a taste for this in the song That's That. I think this is Doom's magnum opus. Everything fucking rhymes. You just have your jaw dropped. It doesn't come off as corny like an Eminem song. It's clever, and the apocalyptic background noise. It sounds like Nero playing a violin as Rome burns.
Give an MC a rectal hysterectomy. Lecture on removal of the bowels, foul technically. Don't expect to see the recipe until we receive the check as well as the collection fee. More rec than Section Z, what to expect to get for free. Shit for me, history.
This was probably the peak of Doom's mainstream appeal. You know, he had a Nike shoe around this time, and after this you'd think that he could only go up from here because he was reaching a nice mature age, but unfortunately things would not work out that way. Around 2007 and 2008, words of Doom using an imposter to play his live shows instead of himself started going around, and this would become a big deal and affect his career greatly, with people questioning the morality of this, some taking the stance that he was just a villain, and others taking the stance that he's ripping your fans off, and when it comes to their real dollars, that's a line to be crossed. Hey, Doom said it way back on One Beer. He plots shows like robberies, In and Out, 1, 2, 3, nobody's pleased. Run the cash and you won't get a wet sweatshirt. Mike is like the shoddy, nobody move, nobody get hurt. Unfortunately, I never had the chance to see Doom himself or Doom poster wise, but there's plenty of clips on the internet of imposters and the reaction to them, and there's plenty of talk on there online. I think that it was kind of funny personally. It doesn't affect my opinion on the man, the myth, the legend that is Doom at all, but this would really come to a head in 2009. Like, people would not book him very often. He still would get booked on some shows, even doing a European tour, but unfortunately at the end of this tour he would try to return to the United States only to be denied entry. He did not know that he was not a citizen. He was born in the UK and immigrated when he was a baby. His mother never took care of that paperwork, unfortunately. So this basically led Doom to be vanished, and this obviously puts a fucking hindrance on your career, doesn't it? Doom was enjoying the culture of the UK, and he found himself a collaborator in producer Gennaro Janelle, and this ended up materializing itself in the form of 2012's Key to the Kuffs by JJ Doom.
It was not really a Doom record per se, but you know, I helped arrange it, and you know, I put a little bit of my style to it, so it's cool. It came about kind of by mistake, actually. You know, it started with one song, so I chose a JJ beat, and you know, it sounded hot. They asked me to do another song, and then well, we should probably do an album, and then the next thing you know, I'm gonna be doing an album. The supervillain get kicked out your country and said the Pledge of Allegiance 6 times monthly. He ain't hardly go to school, but known to rock a party and do karate on a ghoul.
Now this feels more like a Daniel Dumile record than it does an MF Doom record at this point, because Doom was he was an old man by this point. He had kids, you know, he had a wife that he could not see during the recording of this very often. Doom would go on to talk about this on this record, on the song Banished, which is basically like a schizophrenic, fucking frantic. It sounds like you basically just got told that you were kicked out of the country that you reside in.
No, not deported. Be a little minute before things get sorted. Known to get money, never got caught, kid. Escape with a soft skid. Short bit, knock on wood. Dope on plastic, rock so hood. Hope on spastic. Put it on the wrist, put your bullshit, fix it, recognition on free.
We got some conspiratorial songs on here as well with the song GMO. It's very poignant for Doom to be talking about. He hadn't talked about food, which was obviously something he thought about a lot since 2004's Food. This isn't quite as playful as Food was, though. This is a serious song.
Question, will the Frankenfoods kill us, or turn us into things off Thriller, or dang gorillas? Breeds of a needless variety. In the name of greed, we get a seedless society.
Doom was doing a lot of research on YouTube around this time. The man that he was living with in the UK that was helping take care of him and run errands and stuff, like his assistant, had said you'd sometimes go in and see him watching very poignant spiritual and nature documentaries, and then sometimes it would be like some crazy white people or monkey shit, you know. This would obviously affect his music on this album because we get a very more inquisitive Dumile as opposed to the self-assured supervillain that we had on Born Like This. It's not quite as apocalyptic either as Born Like This would be, what you would think. And it doesn't even sound defeated. A lot of UK culture comes in on this album, on songs like Governor and Rhyme and Slang.
All the way to UK to BK, hear the echo of the bang and the Cockney rhyme and slang. Hurricane with the peculiar terrain.
Diggle your anthem, Cockney rhyme and slang. All the way to UK to BK, hear the echo of the bang and the Cockney rhyme and slang.
Doom was featured on the Gorillaz album Demon Days, way back in the day, on the song November Has Come. So of course Damon's gonna return the favor. These guys go way back, you know. Damon was a big fan of Doom. You got a feature from Cujo Goody of the Goody Mob as well, which in 2012, a feature from Cujo Goody on MF Doom album is really fucking cool, I must say. You've also got one of Doom's most heartfelt performances on the song Winter Blues about his wife Jasmine, who he clearly couldn't see. Basically, he alluded to his career as making money with Satan all day, can't eat, can't sleep. You know, he just needs his wife. He needs one warm hug from turning off.
Fuck masturbating, I'd rather wait than keep enough of that good stuff for the trading in. Each and every day, making cash with Satan, can't eat, can't sleep, it's exasperating.
And this is actually the last album that I would consider an essential in Doom's career, you know, because between getting banished, getting older, Doom really started to slow down after 2012. We'd have a few more albums going forward. They really weren't as essential. 2014 saw the collaborative Neruvian Doom project. It was done as a favor to a guy, a record label executive. It's alright, but Doom only raps on 4 songs on it, and you can tell that his heart is not in the music anymore. Around this time, he would lose his young son, King Malachi, who was only 14 years old as well, which really discourages you from wanting to put a mask on and rap about drinking beer. That, between deportation, the tragedies that had befallen his life decades beforehand, he probably just wanted to slow down and live his life. But this was the time where he had potential to become more mainstream than ever. You know, the internet was really picking up in the mid-2010s, and his notoriety was really picking up with hip-hop heads, Redditors, Fantano type fans and stuff. The word was really spreading. He did have 2 collaborations with Czarface, one in 2018 and one posthumously in 2021 with the Czarface meets Metalface and Super What albums. But Doom, his heart really wasn't in it. Now, much love to Inspectah Deck and 7L and Esoteric. They're all valid hip-hop artists, but this stuff just feels very plastic and action figure-y to me. which it's very successful, and I think that's how it's supposed to feel, because Czarface was very inspired by Doom. They were very comic booky and superhero themed, while Doom was super villain themed, so it was only natural that they would collaborate, right? Unfortunately, this all would come to a head when, after a couple years of near radio silence, only having merch drops and the occasional features for video games like Grand Theft Auto with one-off songs, or songs with people like Freddie Gibbs and Westside Gunn, which were very good. Doom was battling a lot of health issues. The world was shocked on New Year's Eve of 2020 when a post would come out on MF Doom's official social media pages basically explaining that Doom had passed away months earlier on October 31st, Halloween night 2020. Basically closing the chapter on the book of MF Doom. And it's sad, man. There was so much potential, but I don't think it's right to focus on what we didn't get when what we got was one of the most unique and intensely creative, masterfully crafted discographies in all of hip-hop history. As always, I'm the motherfucking genius from the Downfall Network. Shout out to the Drip Tank, subscribe to the Drip Tank, and okay, peace out, bye, whoop whoop.
Subscribe to the Downfall Network.
No!